for $99. They have a drawer. And you can get any prescription, $95.
I wish I'd done that.
I know, and they even have, well, they don't have like, but they have like nice.
Really?
Yeah. So it's loans. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so that's good to know. If you take your prescription in there and say, yeah, yes, I can't.
Oh, 2 for 99. Well, that'd be okay.
No, I don't know what it is, but it's very reasonable. And I just, yeah. All right, let me, concentrate here.
Yeah, no, I know, that's what's negative. Yeah, I want.
No, it's okay. That's okay. No, it's fine. Whatever you need. Okay. Hello.
Actually, I can see. Yeah. My name is changed. That's great. That is good.
Yes. A pretty picture. Really, it comes from the name.
Hello.
Hi there, Soledad.
How you doing? I'm good. Have you seen you in a while? And you and so nice to see you.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I mean, you can just have a little bit. You can be a witness. I know. Maybe not.
Pero no se preocupe, es para nomás. Si no pueden entrar, yo sé bien si no ya cuando me dicen que bien son, ya parte de mi sí, no está bien. Sí, mis amigos son más en vez de yo tener la computadora, más y nada más porque no
That's it.
There's. Oh, and I'm on this. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so beyond, which doesn't have any, it's supposedly that here is the language was when I say, you know, let's call him, I'm gonna say, if he's here, and he's going to, even if he's not.
You can still go. It's your investment.
Yes. I've not heard from anybody else. If they're not coming, Jen, there's a shirt companies. I think we're discussing these today. I said, it's really important. Oh, there you were. Oh, Michael is out. So initially, I think we would call the roll and say, Marlene is, we know that Marlene is absent and we know that Michael is.
For the purpose, press release that have out to the board, that I didn't get it, I can't back for transmission. But I got notification. I guess it had to be, or, yeah, I guess it had to be translated, so.
Yeah, but we can't.
I could just talk about it, but there was.
Yeah, talk about it and then say I have something. Yeah, we don't always have to have copies for the public.
They're just, there are these out there. They want to talk about it, you know,
Let's do that.
and then
And then Jackie will be translating and sitting there.
maybe you can.
Okay. That sounds good. Well, so we just had a time and we had the kids on display. I had somebody like all right, so
Some other. Can't see your screens. Right, so. I think this was.
you know that.
Put out to just say.
She let me know. She really cares about it. I have a kid.
Continue to work, such service.
Yeah, so how much? Yeah, actually, Cheryl, yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, that's, you know, what I do is I sit. Yeah, Jackie.
How you doing? How's your baby? How's Lizzie? Oh, we can use the word. Great. Like. Notified if she's not.
All right, well.
It's on. There's a lot of crap. So she didn't have to be very
I'm having.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl.
After the election. And after the election. So I'll just chair emeritus and help her out, whatever she needs. All right, Jim, so, how are you? So you guys, you're in CJ and the supervisor. Yeah, that's. I said, people get it. Oh, I just said it everywhere. So I know, but it's all right, because the case. It would be nice to be able to fill that. Yeah, yeah. She does this one of her, just said, although one last person. Right? Yeah.
Notice. Awesome. Hey, Miss. Here. Miss. Good. All right.
You know, those quick like.
Yeah, yeah. That's no time. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna gotta get it out. Yeah. We still have 6 minutes before the meeting starts. I don't know if I have to do it again. Yeah, we have to. We post all that up. It's last year. Matt did. I can text him and see. Or he's supposed to be out of. Yeah, I know. Okay. Okay. I know Jen was fantastic. When I heard from Marlene, Marlene is not coming, but I said, but Genevieve did. Yeah, Genevieve said she. No problem getting there at all. As long as we have 11 members. I think it's 12, yeah, as long as we have 12, oh, yeah, okay, Jackie, Matt Levere's trying to sign in. What?
Okay, I'll.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just texted him. Yeah, so. Everybody. Poor guy, all three of us. Yeah, right. We could raise money. Yes. So cheap. Oh, there's Genevieve. Okay. She's like, yeah, she probably. No, she was, but she might be considering. I can try. So I just. Because having known this, I'll never work any other job. Okay, so. I like the rings. I love those rings. Yeah, it's like, really, I just. Yes, I'll be looking at. Yeah, that's helpful, but I can see that. Yeah, I'm just saying, no, that's.
Good, started calling.
I know, thanks for your.
Yeah.
It's so nice. I know. was thinking that. I was thinking nine yet? Yeah, that's. It is.
Exactly. That's like not a good thing. College.
Yeah. I don't feel that. Yeah. So we're hoping. Yeah. Oh, are you done? Hi there. I have an idea. I'm done. Yeah. Yeah. Sure, I was in somewhere else. We go a lot of guys. And then people. So we're just having an agent. Okay, so you do not want anyone to share mine? No. They just, no, we'll just use them. Yeah, we'll use them. We'll use them. Oh, it's hard. When you speak and your voice goes down, when you hear your voice. Oh. And there's. So we're not. Okay. Okay. All right. So we're gonna have. Well. So I guess. Thank you. All right. I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to have just a bit of a delay to wait for a few more members to arrive because we heard that there's a traffic issue. So we appreciate your patience and we'll be starting the meeting in just a few minutes. Thank you.
You should receive that. Say something. How are you? Hi,
You literally, it's like good morning, and you come home, you're like, this is sleep. And I went back up. I'm too dead. You're like singing on Saturday. So I think it's a good thing to prioritize you guys on this. Like, you know. Yeah.
We have 9 because we know that. I don't know.
But just another reason.
Yeah, that's 9.
It's open out. So we carry.
I always wait.
Sit on. Pretty big out.
I know it's like our staff.
Good afternoon, everyone. We do not have a quorum yet, so we may have to move the approval of the agenda and the minutes, but we do have a couple of housekeeping things that need to be done first. Would the interpreters please give us the guidelines in English and in Spanish, please? And introduce yourselves, please.
Yes, my name is Lourdes and I'm here with my colleague Maria.
And we're happy to interpret for you. We ask you to please speak into your mic so we can hear you. But for the people that are in Zoom, please use the interpreting function by selecting the icon that says language of preference. And even if you are bilingual, please choose one language so you can hear all comments. Para las personas que están aquí presentes, si fueran tan amables de usar su micrófono muy de cerquita para que les escuchemos. Las personas que están en Zoom, por favor, escojan el icono donde está su preferencia de idioma para que escuchen la función de interpretación en el idioma que deseen. Y aunque sean bilingües, por favor, escojan un idioma. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Okay. We still do not have a quorum, so I'm just going to wait another, but yes, okay, we will have a quorum as soon as the two members who just greeted, just came in will sit down, Jennifer and Naomi. So please bear with us. We will start the meeting in just a couple of minutes as soon as they're seated. All right, I wanted to welcome everyone in the room today and also any of our participants on Zoom. We appreciate your taking the time out today to join us. I would like to know, James, could you please call the roll and BHAB members, if you would please introduce yourselves and your affiliation and your supervisor, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Soledad Barragán.
I'm here, my name is Soledad Barragán y represento el Distrito 5.
Soledad representing District 5. Nancy Porter.
Nancy Porter representing District 3, surrounding the committee and nominating committee to.
Dean Brooking. Dean Brooking. Kevin Clarisi.
Yep, Kevin Clarisi, president. I'm representing District 1. I'm here. I also chair the Youth and Family Committee and I also participated on that nominated committee.
All right, James Espinosa, president of District 4. I'm on prevention committee and also veteran representative for Genevieve Harrell. All right, Flores Harrell, Genevieve Flores Harrell.
Genevieve is going to be here. She just told me that she's about 10 minutes away.
Cheryl Heitman.
Present, District 1 and Youth and Family.
See, Genevieve is now present. Do you need her to vocalize it, or is my seeing her good?
That's good enough.
Okay. CJ Keaveney.
On her way, she just deferred.
Okay, CJ's parking. Naomi Marufo.
District 3 Prevention Committee.
Diane McKay.
Diane is on her way also.
She was also parking.
Or she's also parking. Thank you.
Jennifer Morrison.
President, District 4, Candace Urban, and I serve on the Adult Services Committee.
Sean Pusey.
Sean Pusey, law enforcement representative, and I serve on the Adult Services Committee.
Dahlia Ruffin.
District 4, Janice Parvin, and the Traditional Beach Committee.
Michael Rodriguez, I was informed is not present. Elizabeth Stone. Elizabeth Stone absent. Chris Tejeda.
Hi, Chris Taylor, the 4th District, one of the Supervisor Parvin and a member of the Adult Services Committee. Thank you.
Right, Marlon Torres, I was told is on here, Marlon. Liz Warren,
Good afternoon here. First Vice Chair, Executive Director of the Client Network. I sit on the Prevention Committee. I represent Supervisor V.N.A. Lopez in District 5.
and Janice Gardner.
Janice Gardner, I'm the chair of the prevention committee, and I am in supervising Gorill's district.
Here we have 13 plus the 2 that are parking, which I'll address when they mark it.
Thank you, James. We do have a quorum. We may proceed. Are there any just cause? I believe supervisor or emergency. I believe Supervisor Levere is a just cause today. Are you on Zoom, Supervisor? Oh, yes, I see you. Okay.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm here.
No emergency circumstances. All right, may I have a motion to approve today's agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, are there any changes or adjustments? Oh, sorry, Jackie, do you have something?
Can you repeat the names after?
Warren moved. Heighten second.
Thank you.
All right, are there any changes or adjustments to the agenda today? All right, hearing none. James, would you please call roll?
Yes, Soledad Barragán,
Yes.
Nancy Borchard,
Yes.
Kevin Clarisi,
Yes.
James Espinoza, yes. Genevieve Flores Faro,
Yes.
Cheryl Heitman,
Yes.
Matt Levere,
Yes.
Yes.
Jennifer Morrison,
Yes.
Sean Pusey,
Yes.
Dahlia Rodkin,
Yes.
Chris Tejeda,
Yes.
Liz Warren,
Yes.
Janice Gardner.
Yes, and
Diane McKay is walking in, and
hey, Diane.
Diane, we're voting on the agenda.
Yes.
Diane McKay, yes.
Okay, motion has passed as written. All right, may I have a motion to approve the May 20th, 2024 minutes, please?
So moved.
Second. Are there any changes or comments on the May 20th minutes? All right, hearing none. James, did you please call roll?
Soledad Barragán,
Yes.
Nancy Borchard,
Yes.
Kevin Clarisi,
Yes.
James Espinoza, yes. Genevieve Flores Faro,
Abstain, I was absent.
Cheryl Heitman,
Yes.
CJ here. Matt Levere,
Yes.
Yes.
Diane McKay,
Yes.
Jennifer Morrison,
Yes.
Sean Pusey,
Abstain.
Dahlia Rodkin,
Yes.
Chris Tejeda,
Yes.
Liz Warren,
Yes.
Janice Gardner.
Yes. All right, motion passes. The minutes are approved as written. All right, next, public comments, and we do have one public comment, and that is from Pete LaFollette. And his public comment is as follows. The new MHSA, aka BHSA, stands for Behavioral Health Services Act. It's sparse, and it needs lots of new law filler to carry out its purpose. It's too vague. Hence, regulation, aka law made by Newsom's administrative agency, Department of Healthcare Services. This will say what the eligibility criteria and services must be offered in a full service partnership, what a housing intervention means, etc. Some decisions still lie with the county, but the big picture decisions are with DHCS. A lot to do with what we think of as MHSA NAD was not passed into law by the ballot measure in 2004, but was made up by regulation later, including important designs like you can't use these monies for long-term clinical treatment facilities, stays, aka institutionalizations. And that concludes our public comments, written public comments. Are there any other public comments? I see a hand way down at the bottom.
Someone here is.
Yeah, okay. It has an exclamation mark, but I think, if you could please identify yourself.
It's Carol Shelton.
Okay, and then I'll give the person in the room next. Go ahead, Carol.
My name is Carol Shelton, and I'm here on behalf of the Autism Society of Ventura County's Advocacy Committee. Our committee reviews school board, city council, county supervisor, and committee agendas, coordinating public comments in line with our policy guidelines. We're here today to raise awareness about a significant gap in behavioral health services in Ventura County, specifically mental health services for those with developmental disabilities. I would like to share a social media post from a private Facebook group for families of students with special needs. The family gave us permission to share their post. Please pray for my son. We are stuck in the ER department at VCMC. We have been here since Tuesday morning. He is having a psychotic breakdown. The hospital won't admit him because he doesn't have a medical problem, but no mental health facility will admit him because of his medical conditions. We cannot leave the ER until I feel it is safe for him to be home or until a facility is willing to take him. 5 parents or caregivers shared similar stories in the comments, stating that they had been in the same situation. Many others emphasized the urgency of getting him to UCLA where he can finally receive the help he needs. Emergency mental health services should be available locally and not more than an hour away and only with caregiver transport. This long-standing healthcare gap in Ventura County needs to be addressed urgently. Care cannot wait. In your meeting today, you will discuss many plans for expanded services. We urge you to intentionally plan for and offer real solutions for individuals with developmental disabilities facing mental health crises. Right now, our loved ones get stuck in the ER without care, or worse, end up in prison. The Autism Society, Ventura County, and our Advocacy Committee would like to thank you for the important work you do. We understand that there are many unmet behavioral health needs in the community. We urge you to also recognize the need for a continuum of care that meets the needs of people with developmental disabilities in these deliberations. Should you need any additional information on this issue, or if you would like to connect directly with the parent who posted, or if you're interested in learning more about our advocacy committee, please email advocacy@autismventura.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your public comment. We have a public comment in the room here. Please proceed.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maureen Hodge with Community Memorial Healthcare, Director of Behavioral Health and Grants. Nice to see you today. I wanted to let you know we are continuing to pursue opportunities to serve patients that we have coming through CMH. And today is our official launch open for the Integrated Behavioral Health Center. It's on 4080 Loma Vista Street on Suite and Suite F. And it's really an integrated approach. We've have multiple programs working out there in that building, but it is psychiatry, our psychiatry residents. We have our Justice Involved COSUP grant that we staff and have social workers with. We have our Caregiver Navigator. That program has now become a national spotlight on how we're treating our caregivers and the mental health issues our caregivers face, like the mother you just heard about. We have a group of psychiatry residents, psychiatrists, psychologists, LCSWs, LMFTs, community health workers. So we're really working towards expanding what we can do as a health system when our community comes into our hospital and we are seeing so much depression and anxiety. And we treat mostly mild to moderate. our VCBH, we have a lot of partnerships with VCBH here. But as you know, the needs are tremendous, and so we'll continue, but I wanted you to know today's our official launch date, and we're really, really pleased about what's happening and how CMH is trying to help crack the nuts of healthcare and integrate it with mental health and behavioral health. That's all.
Thank you so much, and you're certainly invited to remain here during our meeting, or do you have a contact other than that you would like to give us, please? Thanks. I mean, obviously it's CNH, you can get that online, but.
Yes, I cannot remember the new number by heart. So if you want to email me directly, mhodge@cmhshealth.org. See, I don't know that number by heart yet, but we do have it. So, but you can email me direct and I'll make sure we get that number out to you.
Thank you so much. All right, are there any other public comments? I don't see any other hands raised. Is any other public comments in the room? No, seeing none, all right. Next is on the agenda is chair comments, and I just wanted to say thank you to everyone on the board here. It was a pleasure to facilitate this meeting, the BHAB meeting for this past year. I've served in prior years also, and I know that we've had a lot of wins, and we've had some that we have not had so many wins. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate all of you very much and all the hard work that you're doing. I know that there's been some distractions this year, and I look forward to having a new leadership on the executive committee, and that we will be streamlining and doing some really important work this next year. And I just wanted to say thank you to you all. And it's been a pleasure to work with every single one of you.
Yes. Thank you. Get something first. That, on behalf of BHAB, we just want to give you a big thank you. We could give you something even bigger, but I didn't have that flowers were better than this recognition, which I'm sure you have a ton of in your office. But thank you for leadership this past year and other years that you've also been the leaders. You've really given so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Cheryl. I really appreciate it. Go ahead, Liz.
Hi. So on a personal and professional note, I wanted to thank you for being a wonderful colleague and for shepherding this group through a bit of a transitional period, getting used to having hybrid meetings, people having to show up, some of the challenges of making quorum, getting folks to recommit to their appointments, and you've done it with superb aplomb and clear class actions, and we are very fond of you, and we want to thank you for always maintaining an even keeled demeanor and getting us through some of the challenging things that we encountered. We look forward to having you staying on our leadership committee as chair emeritus, and we know that you will continue to add tremendous insight, bringing all your institutional history to the board and helping the new leadership transition to their roles. So thank you again.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it very much. Okay, moving on. We have sort of, yeah, hold on. Yeah, hold on. Just trying to take these off as we go along here. Okay, next on the agenda, we have attendance and forum discussion, and kind of piggybacking on what Liz said. One of our members last month mentioned that how important it is that we come to the BHAB meeting in person and that we have a quorum every month. Without a quorum, last month we were not able to have the elections. And I know that things come up with everyone, things have happened in my own personal life, but we hope that everyone is committed, and I know that the people here are committed, and there are BHAB members that are not here, but we just want to mention that, you know, we have a lot of changes coming up right now, and from the state, and we have a new behavioral health director, and we'll have some new officers, including myself, hopefully. We're all elected in a few minutes. So we just really appreciate everyone's attendance, and please try and come every month. And we're going to be doing some great stuff this next year. I hope you all agree. So that's what I wanted to mention, and I also wanted to hear any feedback from any of the BHAB members about this discussion. Go ahead, James.
Thank you, Janice. I support everybody else who's also thank you for your dedication to the board. I've been new to the board. You've helped tremendously, guided me, or folks like me. So on that note, thank you. But that's a bit off topic, but I wanted to say that I just wanted to add that for those of us that drive from East County, now that we have a full board, it is a personal preference that we work really hard to maintain and have a quorum. On a professional level, I just wanted to add my personal thought and feeling that we are public officials appointed by elected members of our county. So it's important, I mean, that I would love more than anything to be in my pajamas working for my computer at home. But I do, and I'm not saying that everybody's doing that, but I do choose to be a member of this board. So I just want to state my commitment, my personal commitment to be here each week that I can, understanding that life does happen. And I support your requests for this commitment from others, Janice. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is to me a little bit of some cleanup, a little general housekeeping, so to speak. I think it's important to get everybody back to focusing just on procedure and protocol. You're a professional. You accepted the appointment from your supervisor. You're supposed to be here at least once a month for this particular meeting, and you're part of leadership. You have 2 meetings, and you're also supposed to participate on 1 standing committee. It's not a heavy lift if you're committed to doing it. If you've had a change of heart, if you no longer can actually fulfill your commitment to the board, I would encourage you to have a real heart-to-heart conversation with your supervisor. Let them know that you appreciated your tenure with the board so far, but that perhaps it's time to move on because you're having difficulty with your work-life balance. Everybody's been reevaluating their lives post-COVID and what the new normal is, which there's no such thing as normal. Those of us in behavioral health know that. And I think that it's okay. No one will judge you or think differently of you, but if you are going to commit and continue with your appointment, then you need to be professional. You need to contact the chair, you need to contact BHAB admin staff and let them know that you're not going to show, so that people who are trying to get together and they've got a logistical concern like James having to drive far away, know that there may not be a quorum, and then other steps can be made to mitigate people showing up and nothing happening. It's a waste of everybody's time. So I would ask you to really step up your game if you're continuing to do this. Ask yourself why you stepped into the arena of behavioral health, why you're a mental health advocate, a substance use disorder advocate, a consumer family advocate, a member of the community. Why are you here? What do you want to accomplish? But if you can't be consistent in showing up, it's extraordinarily crippling to the business of the board, and it is not something that can continue. So I don't need to sound like a high school room teacher, but I just feel like everybody has to kind of recommit as we start the new fiscal year and the new leadership team. At a minimum, you need to be communicating with the chair and with Jackie. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. All right, next on the agenda, did anyone else have any comments before? Oh, yes, go ahead, Nancy.
Again, I don't like to sound mean, but we do have procedures in our bylaws that say when people make a certain number of meetings and we don't know what's going on with them, that they could be, that brought to their attention by phone or calls or whatever, letters. We've done these things before. At the very least, we would need to let their supervisor know that they're not fulfilling their obligations. And it makes it hard for us to function. That's a big step, and you don't want to do that to someone who just is having a personal issue that you want to be understanding about. But when there's no communication at all, then it seems like we have no recourse. Then go to the next step and get some new people. We have a great board right now. I hope everybody is committed. I think they are. But there's others that we haven't heard from them for a long time. And we don't know what their deal is. So until we can move on that, we do have a procedure for it. That's all I'm saying. The exec committee can review that.
Right, thanks, Nancy. We do, it's, we appreciate that, and I think that secretary or the chair, or first vice chair, or second vice chair will be taking on that role of communicating with members that may be having a problem or may not be able to attend, and discussing that with the executive committee. So, because that does happen in life. So thank you for that reminder, Nancy. All right, next we have the director's report. Dr. Dennery.
Thank you, Janice. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you all. Before I jump into my report, I just also wanted to introduce our new healthcare agency director. She's behind me, put on the spot, Dr. Teresa Cho. Was appointed just a couple of weeks ago. So congratulations to Dr. Cho. She will be leading our agency. We're all very excited, and she plans to attend as she's able with a very busy schedule. Thank you today. All right, so today we have a pretty extensive director's report. So I'm going to go through a few items and make a note of some areas that we will be discussing further next month, but we wanted to include this month so that folks had time to digest the information and be ready to talk next month. All right, so the first being the eval core report on the behavioral health continuum needs assessment. It was included in your packet. It is a very extensive report of over 200 pages, so we did not make printed copies, but they are available upon request. We can have that done if you would like. So last week during our executive committee, I updated the executive committee on kind of the process, where we were in the whole process. Again, as the behavioral health department, we ourselves are a part of the evaluation. And at this point, I'm really just the spokesperson, given the leadership transition within healthcare agency. But again, this is a healthcare agency that needs assessment across the continuum and not a behavioral health department assessment, just as a reminder. So we are aware of the presentation that was given during the May meeting. It wasn't an official meeting since there wasn't a quorum, but there was a presentation done by, was it May or June? Oh, June, so sorry, June, the June meeting. There was a presentation by EvalCore. I understand I received feedback. I was not there. I was at the board of supervisors. We had budget hearings that night. That there was some questions and, following the presentation, some concern, given what was presented wasn't exactly what people were expecting. I can tell you the county was also disappointed in what we saw. I went back and watched the video as what was presented to us and what was presented to folks during that meeting was not consistent with what was requested in the RFP. That said, there were conversations with the former healthcare agency director before he retired as far as next steps, and a decision was made to not pursue extending an agreement with EvalCore to continue any work. And they were asked to produce the final reports based on what they had gathered along since the beginning of the contract. And so they produced the report that is in your packet today. And at this point, we want to have a conversation with the BHAB that Dr. Cho will be here to take any questions as far as, what our thoughts are. But as I shared last week during the exec committee, the county is prepared to move forward with an independent third-party evaluator to complete the work that was intended to be done in the RFP. And for those of you who may not be aware of what I'm referring to, the RFP was very clear that data sources included not just behavioral health department, but also the jail system, ambulatory care system, Gold Coast Health Plan, education system, and any other relevant data as far as behavioral health services across the county. our understanding that that was not included in this evaluation. And to our understanding, it was stated as such in that meeting, that it was counter to what was outlined in the RFP. So again, we will not get into the specifics of the report today because we just included it and it's a lot of information. But I've already had conversations with our outgoing and incoming chairs that we will be agendizing it for August meeting. And we'll have a conversation as a group so that we can get feedback and level set before any steps are taken, including extending to another third party. Although the county is prepared to do so if that is, recommendation and consideration from what will be had after reviewing. So it's a lot, but we just wanted everybody to have an opportunity to dig into it, and then we'll come back. All right, the next item. Oh, go ahead.
Tell us where in the packet is that?
It's not,
We don't have it.
No, it's attached to the, yeah, but we can print it out. If you want.
I understand.
It's over- Yeah, okay, because it's over 200 pages and that's a lot, so.
Okay. Well, it doesn't make.
Okay,
Sorry.
no problem. Yes, Genevieve?
Thank you, Dr. Denning, for that update. Just a quick question as it relates to the health corps. So are they being taken off just this project, or they're no longer going to be working in any capacity with the department?
Their agreement with this specific project has ended and will not be renewed. But their other contacts remain.
Okay, within the department.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Karen?
yes.
Hi. Okay, so I was at the exec committee last week, we talked about this, so I just want to revisit some of the things that I brought up with you at that meeting so that folks here can hear about it.
Sure.
So I have really mixed feelings about this. I worked with the golf corps for many, many years. I feel that I don't want them thrown under the bus entirely and be the ones that are being lambasted and held responsible for this perhaps not coming to fruition the way that we had envisioned it. I was part of the RFP process and part of the committee that awarded the contract to them. I think it was mismanaged and it wasn't supervised well by the HCA, it wasn't a BCBH. As you rightly commented, it was a county-wide assessment of the continuum of care among all county departments providing mental health services, and the touch points for individuals in our community and how they interacted with those entities and what the gaps were. We needed some hard data, and there was, I believe, some miscommunication because I really believe there was a lack of management, overall management from HCA on this. I welcome Dr. Cho to the process. Dr. Cho has a phenomenal background in this. I think you may not know, but she oversaw all the ambulatory care in our county. That's huge because I think she'll have a lot of knowledge from the trenches that I think she can bring to the process. Above and beyond that, I want to know exactly where the work product is because. Okay, sure. Sure. I just want to know where the work product is because the county owns it. And I want to make sure that we see what they've done and that we can get our hands on it. So if that's the report you're referring to,
Yes.
then that's great.
Yes, that is.
Okay, and so the contract was sunset. I appreciate, okay, so that's done as of June 30th, that's correct? And now you
Correct.
want to look for an independent third-party evaluator. So talk to me about that process. What's the stakeholder process going to look like? How are we going to identify that entity and who will be responsible for making that decision?
So that's something we will talk about next month.
Okay.
Should it be decided that what is in this report is not enough and that folks would like to pursue an additional analysis, we will talk about what that would look like.
Okay, all right. Will you be having any meetings prior to the next time we get together as a large group? Will you be doing smaller one-on-ones to get input from members of the community about this? Or are you only going to be discussing it in public forums like this?
None of that's been decided. At this point, we wanted to get the information out to folks so that they can read it and digest it for themselves and then come with, suggestions or recommendations as far as what they feel is lacking, how they would like to move forward. But without actually reading it, people would not be able to do so. Again, given how large it is, we wanted to give people ample time, so we produced it a month before the discussion.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick thing to add to. I was with Liz on that RFP development along with a handful of others last year. And I'm so glad you mentioned all those different areas that, that may have not covered, right? So one thing I think that might be helpful for the board if we're reviewing this together is to also see the original RFP so that we could see kind of what to compare it to and what our standard was that we initially kind of set out. But yeah, all in all, it sounds like the process is really good. I'm looking forward to all this. Thank you.
Okay, I see another hand, but I'm just wondering, Dr. Jenner, did you want to finish your director's report? And then Mary, I see your hand. If we can just wait until she finishes her report, and then we'll call on other comments.
Thank you, Janice. The next report out is again something I shared at the executive committee last week. I included a PowerPoint deck from a visit that we had from the Advocates for Human Potential. They are the third-party administrator for the Department of Healthcare Services related to all of the behavioral health continuum infrastructure program, BHAB. They reached out directly to the CEO's office, asking to have a site visit in Ventura County. And then I was extended an invitation from the CEO's office. So their senior director of programs, Mark Fawcett, came and visited us. And so we had a conversation, a presentation, which the deck is included here, and then took him on a tour of our county and stopped by our BHAB Round 4 location for our Youth Wellness Center. We took them to the MHRC site over Lewis Road. And then stopped out here for a tour of Williams Drive, and then also East County to look at the potential of the East County CSU PUC location. So again, they reached out directly to the state or from the state level, and we took them around. So I wanted to include that for you all, so you can see some of the planned projects. Again, this will be discussed more in depth next month. Next month, the CEO's office from Capital Projects will be coming to do a presentation. They did a capital projects presentation in June at the Board of Supervisors. I also included that presentation in your packet as well. And so they will be providing that and a more updated presentation to this board next month. Again, wanted everyone to have the information in a timely manner so that you have time to digest it and come ready with questions in your next month. As again, this crosses county departments as far as infrastructure work, and it's a partnership, obviously behavioral health at state, but CEO, real estate, CEO's office, general services agency, there are many hands that go along with this type of work. And so they will be coming next month for a presentation to the board. Okay, the last or two more. I wanted to provide an update on Vista Del Mar. The update is there is not really an update. They are still working through the compliance and monitoring agreement, have not signed, but they are still working through it with their attorneys. So that is the update. And then the last update is on Prop 1. As you know, we are doing a lot of Prop 1 preparation work, and there will be more kind of focused stakeholder involvement coming up in the coming months as we get more information from the state and start rolling things out. But in the meantime, I wanted to let folks know that Department of Healthcare Services will be doing a Prop 1 public listening session on July 30th from 1 to 2 o'clock. And so we will send this information out to everyone. But this is the opportunity for members of the public to submit comments directly to DHCS and to get information directly from them as far as their plans and overall the behavioral health transformation, which includes not only Prop 1, but also BH Connect and all of the other initiatives that are coming out now. That's it.
Okay, I have to call on the board members first, and then I see hands up there, and Mary, you're in the queue, so go ahead. Liz, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you for this, the slide deck is terrific. I love it. I mean, I go crazy about stuff like this. I'm so happy. But I have two quick comments. So I think it would have been, I think it was a missed opportunity when Human Potential came and toured the county with you and Dr. Johnson and went to the various sites and went out to East County and the MHRC. It would have been nice to have invited some members of the board to accompany you, to have representation from the community. It would have also illustrated that there is a collaborative effort underway, that we do have a stakeholder process that's involved in all of the different phases of the BHAB work. So if they ever want to come back, give us a ring a ding and we'll join you. The other thing is, just to clarify with BDM, there's no update. They're still hashing out the requirements that you asked them to step up and meet, right? As part of moving forward with their renewed contracts. Is that correct, right?
I can say they are still working through the monitoring and compliance agreement.
Right.
With their lawyers.
Okay.
And have yet to sign and present something to the county.
Okay, so you in presenting that to us, mentioned that there would also be another organization. Are they involved in helping them meet the requirements, working with the attorney, or are they just standing by once it gets signed off on?
They are in the process of obtaining that third party.
So they don't even have a third party yet?
Not to our knowledge.
Okay, so there are currently no involuntary 5158 admins over there?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I also wanted to thank you, Dr. Jennering. We've been very excited about looking at the MHRC and having updates on that, because this has been a long time coming, and appreciate that and look forward to August and discussing all of these items in August. Okay, hands, all right, Mary Hackner.
Hi, good afternoon. I have a couple of things. I just wanted to get clarification. So the EvalCorps contract was entirely an HCA contract, and that's your representation. But wasn't it the BHAB that recommended the assessment in the first place after a year-long gaps analysis? So that's confusing. I would recommend that the BHAB make sure that the next contract is something that the BCBH is closely monitoring this time, so that all of the recommendations that were made by the BHAB will make sure that they're focusing on those. Another thing regarding advocates for human potential, Loretta, I know you had a meeting with Candela, Chris Tejada, and Jennifer Morrison, Jeff Hayden, and myself. At that point, you talked about the real difficulty working with advocates for human potential. And at that meeting, you expressed many concerns regarding their ability to work with counties, and that counties up and down the state were reticent to enter into contracts with AHP. So were your concerns regarding that addressed pursuant to your meeting?
Mary, right, Mary, public comments are presented as public comments and do not require a response.
Okay, I thought it would be something if you could say yes or no. It's kind of it's one of those situations, if we're going to get Prop 1 funds, we have to jump through the hoops that the state is requiring us to jump through. And I had written an email to AHP and included some of our elected officials, including Monique Limon, Senator Limon, and wanted to get information about how, as an advocacy group, we could help in some way. And I just wanted to know if those concerns were addressed when you were able to meet with AHP, so that, and also there might be a possibility for the BHAB to have a smaller group that's just focused on Prop 1 and the BHAB fund. Just some ideas. Thank you.
Yes, so I will just speak in generalities about Prop 1 and as far as the infrastructure piece. There have been, and it's very well known that there have been issues regarding the original behavioral health continuum infrastructure program, BCHIP. as far as counties and, CEOs and nonprofits, working through the applications themselves, working with the state and AHP as far as, the administrative complications. So those are well known. And I can say that the state has taken a lot of efforts to address those concerns at the state level. As far as streamlining the contracting pieces, working through some of the language in the agreements that counties and applicants were having to sift through. Because it has been a priority for the administration to get the bond VHIP money out in a timely manner. And so they were very aware of the complications that people were having in the original VHIP program. And so there have been efforts at the Department of Healthcare Services and through the legislature to streamline these processes. And so we anticipate the RFA will be released any day now. They've been saying mid-July. That's another reason why we wanted to include the information in this month's packet, so that again, when we have to get moving very quickly at the department level and at the county level to move these applications forward, this board was aware of planned projects ahead of time. So that's another reason why I included it this month. We will have to wait and see until it is released to see what all has been streamlined. But we have been told that the processes have been streamlined and that we should find differences this time around in the bond VHIP as opposed to the original VHIP. So again, all I can say is we'll wait and see, and we anticipate that happening very soon.
Okay, thank you, Dr. McHenry. If there are no more public comments, for Dr. Dennering, are there any from the board? None, all right. Okay, well, thank you again. And next we move on to the election of officers for fiscal year 2024, 2025. And I wanted to thank Nancy Borchard and Kevin Carisi and Liz Warren for stepping up. This is not an easy task. Talking to various BHAB members and finding candidates who want to serve and who are committed to being on the executive committee and adding that additional meeting to their calendars. So with that, I want to say thank you for your service, and I'm going to hand it over to Nancy Borchard to do the election.
All right. The nominating committee would like to present the slate of officers for year 2024-25. We present as chairman, Cheryl Heitman, as first vice chairman, Diane McKay, second vice chairman, James Espinoza, secretary, CJ Keating, and chairman emeritus, Janice Gardner. At this time, we need to have an election, and we have to just vote in person and saying it out loud, not by a secret ballot or anything like that. So I don't know, we can't do that now. Last month. Yeah, so, last month there was an opportunity to add any extra people to this slate, and we heard none. So this is the slate. And this is what we're gonna vote on today. So, James, can we just ask you to do the roll call of your name? Or do I need a second? I propose
is that a motion to approve the slate?
So you're gonna, I hate to say this, but I truly hate to say this, but you're gonna have to vote on each position.
Okay,
So,
all right.
You can't be a yay or nay for all.
I was thinking that a little complicated, yeah. Okay, the big sweep. All right, that's fine. I won't be there. There we go. All right. All right, so I know, well, so we have to have a first and a second for each person. Is that the case? Yes.
Right. So,
go ahead.
Just a quick clarification. Can't we move the slate and accept the slate and then do individual voting for each position? That's how we've done it in the past. That's the only reason I'm asking.
I'm just, actually, then I would say I'm telling you to do one less. You do not need to.
We don't have to do the slate.
To accept the slate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, so then, the nominating committee nominates as chairman I'm sorry.
Use your microphone.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, got it. Okay, I'll talk. I'm usually a lot of talkers, so. He says, all right. Okay, the nominating committee nominates as chairman Cheryl Hyden. And can we have a vote to that effect? A round table. Roll call vote.
Yeah, first and second. So moved. Second.
Second.
Okay.
Yes.
That's true.
You just speak English.
Yes,
No, wait, wait.
yes. Can you hear me okay now? Can you hear me now? Okay,
Everyone needs to turn their mic off if they're not talking. If you turn your mic off, because otherwise that they can't hear the person who's actually talking on their mic. There you go. Thank you.
okay, ready for the vote? Right, Soledad Barragán,
Yes.
Nancy Orchard,
Yes.
Kevin Clarisi. Yes. James Espinoza, yes. Genevieve Flores Haro,
Yes.
Cheryl Heitman,
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
CJ Keaveney,
Yes.
Supervisor Matt LeBear,
Yes.
Nomi Marufo,
Yes.
Diane McKay,
Yes.
Jennifer Morrison,
Yes.
Sean Pusey,
Yes.
Dahlia Rodkin,
Yes.
Chris Tejeda,
Yes.
Liz Warren,
Yes.
Janice Gardner.
Yes. Right, the board would like, the nominating committee would like to put forward as second vice chairman Diane McKay.
So moved.
Second.
First.
That's what it's, is that what it says? Oh, no, it is first vice chair, sorry.
So moved.
And there's a second, did I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Okay, roll call.
Right, Soledad Barragán,
Yes.
Nancy Orchard,
Yes.
Kevin Clarisi. Yes. James Espinoza, yes. Genevieve Flores Haro,
Yes.
Cheryl Heitman,
Yes.
CJ Keaveney,
Yes.
Supervisor Matt LeBear,
Yes.
Nomi Marufo,
Yes.
Diane McKay,
Yes.
Jennifer Morrison,
Yes.
Sean Pusey,
Yes.
Dahlia Rodkin,
Yes.
Chris Tejeda,
Yes.
Liz Warren,
Yes.
Janice Gardner.
Yes. The nominating committee would like to place forward as second vice chairman James Espinoza. So moved.
Second.
Soledad Barragán,
Yes.
Nancy Orchard,
Yes.
Kevin Clarisi. Yes. James Espinoza, yes. Genevieve Flores Haro,
Yes.
Cheryl Heitman,
Yes.
CJ Keaveney,
Yes.
Supervisor Matt LeBear,
Yes.
Nomi Marufo,
Yes.
Diane McKay,
Yes.
Jennifer Morrison,
Yes.
Sean Pusey,
Yes.
Dahlia Rodkin,
Yes.
Chris Tejeda,
Yes.
Liz Warren,
Yes.
Janice Gardner.
Yes. Nominating committee would like to place the secretary position of CJ Keaveney.
So moved.
Second.
Soledad Barragán,
Yes.
Nancy Orchard,
Yes.
Kevin Clarisi. Yes. James Espinoza, yes. Genevieve Flores Haro,
Yes.
Cheryl Heitman,
Yes.
CJ Keaveney,
Yes.
Supervisor Matt LeBear,
Yes.
Nomi Marufo,
Yes.
Diane McKay,
Yes.
Jennifer Morrison,
Yes.
Sean Pusey,
Yes.
Dahlia Rodkin,
Yes.
Chris Tejeda,
Yes.
Liz Warren,
Yes.
Janice Gardner.
Yes. The nominating committee would like to place forward in the position of chairman emeritus, Janice Gardner.
So moved. And just for But it's a woman who's chair emerita. What?
Sure.
It's chair emerita. There we go.
Like,
Is there a second?
Kevin,
Soledad Varela,
Yes.
Nancy Orchard,
Yes.
Kevin Clarisi. Yes. James Espinoza, yes. Genevieve Flores Haro,
Yes.
Cheryl Heitman,
Yes.
CJ Keaveney,
Yes.
Supervisor Matt LeBaire,
Yes.
Nomi Marufo,
yes.
Diane McKay,
Yes.
Jennifer Morrison,
Yes.
Sean Pusey,
Yes.
Dahlia Rodkin,
Yes.
Chris Tejeda,
Yes.
Liz Warren,
Yes.
Janice Gardner.
Yes. The new board is now in place, and thank you everybody for. The new board is now elected, and I appreciate everyone's willingness to serve. We look forward to working with you all. We will be our best conduct and attend in person.
Congratulations, everyone.
Okay, now, on the agenda, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our new chairperson, Cheryl Hyman.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here and to see all of you, and I'm looking forward to this year. I think we're gonna have a great team, a great board, and I think we can really get a lot accomplished. So really anxious to work with all of you and glad to be here. So thank you very much. And we are going to move on with the agenda. And the next item is the BHAB committee discussion. As you know, we have talked a couple of times about committees. We've had numerous issues with getting committees chaired. We've had numerous issues with quorums of the committees. And so this is a chance for us to maybe look and evaluate and if we're ready to do this, and talk a little bit about what do we think we should be doing, what would be a good way to go forward, on how you all want to do this going forward. We are not mandated to have any of these committees whatsoever, so we can do whatever we want. I recently attended a training put on by the state organization, and it was very interesting because there's the names of the committees and how many there are, it's all over the place. And one thing I will say that was somewhat consistent with other BHABs that were there is that after we set our goals, after the BHAB set their goals for the year, the committees kind of evolved from those goals. So then we know which committees is it that we need to focus more on. There may be fewer of them and they may meet the same or whatever the committee decides, but they'll have a more direct reporting, I think, role to come back to us if we chose to do it that way, to make sure that we are sticking with the goals that we set as a BHAB for the year. So that may be a way to streamline and have fewer committees so that more of us can participate in those committees and make them perhaps even more meaningful. And that's, I don't mean to say in any way that these committees haven't been meaningful, haven't been the right ones for the past years, and perhaps you'll decide they still are, but I think that's the reason we're having this discussion, is to kind of see, do we want to maybe go in a different way this next year? So I'll open it up to anyone who has something they'd like to comment on. Oh, Liz?
Hi, surprise. So a couple of things. I am a proponent for folding committees together to create a few less committees. And I also would like to piggyback on James Espinoza's recommendation quite a few months ago about potentially having multiple committee meetings on one day, so that individuals that are coming from the other side of the county, people that are marking off, an hour and a half, and maybe mark off a longer a longer period of time, come, do a meeting, get a half-hour break, and do another meeting. The room's already set up, the technology's already here, we have VCBH staff available. We could knock out a couple of meetings in one day and make things a little more streamlined. So I'd be advocating for something along those lines. Combining a few, collapsing a few existing committees into making a larger committee, and then looking at what the new mission statement would be, the objective of that committee would be, in order to accommodate ongoing work. And then I would also recommend the possibility of multiple committee meetings on one day. As we move forward, and this is probably another topic for another discussion, in setting goals for the committee and the BHAB setting goals, and then those goals being transferred to the sitting committees, it's important to remember that the BHAB's goals they have to come from the 3-year strategic plan that's developed by the department. We want to work in concert with them, and with all the things coming down from the state, Prop 1, but all of the things coming down, we have to be very careful. We can't start a whole separate parallel bunch of goals that aren't going to be aligning with where the department wants to go. We want to have oversight and accountability of the choices the department is making, and then have our input in helping to accomplish those goals and whatever that looks like. So we haven't, that's how it had been done for a long time. We got a little bit away from that. So just remember, there's this 3-year strategic plan that has to be something that is taken into consideration when the board develops its goals. Thank you.
Sorry, Chris.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to share too, so I've since steps down as the adult chair committee, as well as from Prop 1 committee as well. So I have commitments outside of the board as a new parent and everything. It's been busy. But I just wanted to share my thoughts on this. Thank you for doing the homework too, of like knowing that we don't need to have committees or as many committees, or maybe we do. That's good to know that we have that as an option. It's very, very helpful. I just want to share some things from chairing the adult services that I've seen. One, it was difficult to build the quorum early on, and as of late, we had a few months there where we were consistent in holding a quorum, which is really good. But that's a difficult piece. Some takeaways from the adult services committee that are very helpful. It's very helpful when we have every meeting, we have our adult services shipper do the updates, as well as substance use services do the updates with Jessica Davis. So those are really helpful to know kind of what's going on and what they're coming across and the new programs that are rolling out as well. And then one thing that we've been doing is with different pieces of legislation or different publications that BCBH has put out in the past, or whether it's the state side, we kind of include those in the packet and have an opportunity to discuss those. So I think those have been helpful areas. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to share. But I'd be happy to participate, and I love reading about all these things too, you know, so happy to serve as a participant, but I just won't be available as a chair. So thank you, and yeah, look forward to what the future brings. So
Thank you, Chris. Kevin?
Thank you, Cheryl. I chaired the youth family committee. We met last month, and we actually put it on our agenda, a discussion item. It came out, I guess, 2 months ago out of this full board meeting. And that was about possibly absorbing the TAPE committee, which had some struggles with finding quorum. Through that narrow lens, it was well received. And I mean that as in the members that were there, and members of the public that participated at the youth and family, that felt like it made some sense because Tay in younger ages matched well with youth and family. A lot of issues and services overlap. So I just want to share that. There was acknowledging that it was only the youth and family there. We didn't have representatives of the TAPE committee, and I don't want to project how they feel about this, but I just want to share that youth and family were supportive. That said, it was through the lens solely of absorbing it, not so much through the lens of do we need it or is it something appropriate. going forward. And to that topic, I guess I would, I would make this comment, Cheryl, to what you said, which I think would be useful as a chairperson of a committee, which is, while it's been a pleasure, and while I think our discussions have been robust, it's not, I don't feel the agenda is working towards a goal. What we tried to do with the committee is to have a presentation that's educational. It's, you know, it's a place we can have longer discussion, we can ask a lot of questions, and I think that's been fruitful, but it's not through a lens of like, are we trying to achieve something or move the needle on something? You know, the presenters don't come, we're not looking at performance measures or nothing like that. So I appreciate this item if that's something that we want to look toward, or I guess I would put out there, if we are going to come back and set goals for the next year, the next 2 years, that could be a useful guide for the committee selection, or at least the committee chairs, of how they form their agendas. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Oh, well, we have James.
I don't know who's first, sorry. Thanks, Jen.
Jennifer, sorry.
Thank you. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you, Kevin, for saying that. I'm gonna just be real, I don't really know how to say this other than to just say it. So what is the purpose of these committees? I feel like we've had some really amazing discussions, and like Kevin was saying, it gives you a platform to have deeper discussions, but do they actually affect any change within the department? Or are we just coming together and talking together amongst ourselves about some deeper issues that, you know, we think is a problem? So I would really like to have further discussions on this. I don't know, you know, yes, I think it would be great to maybe have a couple of committees, like 2, but after you set your goals for the, you know, the executive team sets the goals for the BHAB, but I would like to know that taking the time out of my day to come here and spend and visit with all of you and talk about the issues they have is actually going to be productive. So thank you.
Thank you.
James.
And then Janice.
All right, well, thank you to all the outgoing executive board members. Appreciate all your efforts in the past. I want to acknowledge that first, and I'm very excited to learn that there are no legislative requirements for committees. Just so the rest of the board does know, it would require a change of the bylaws, should we do that. So that's something that also we're going to be looking at. I think as a board, we must evolve. Cheryl, you may or may not know this, but I was a police officer with Ventura PD while you were on the city council and mayor for a short period of time. So it's both an honor and an interesting path of my life to now sit on this board with you. We went through a lot of reform and police work over the last 12 years. So just like that, we see part 1. We're in a position now as community members and appointed officials to affect some change. And to know that now I've learned from Ms. Warren that there's a strategic plan that our goals should align with. I'm all for looking at that and forming those committees based strictly on the strategic plan, because like Jennifer said, otherwise, and Kevin, this was exactly the discussion I was hoping for. Not that we're being critical of any of the committees, because the committees have their purpose, but now it's a good hard stop and say, let's evolve, let's be productive, and use everyone's time wisely. We're all volunteering for this, but we're also appointed to serve cause. So with that, I would just suggest and request that, I mean, I guess that's going to be our executive committee, to look at the bylaws, look at the strategic plan, and see where we bullet point those ideas for committees and bring it back to the board.
That's great. And just so you know, the bylaws committee did meet one time, we're meeting again. And that is part of what we're looking at, is how to put it into the bylaws. They don't have to be specific. There's a way to do this so that it gives us that flexibility. And thank you for your service on the Ventura PD. And I do remember you now, but I didn't put it together before. So thank you.
Thank you.
Janice?
Okay, yes, I agree with all of the chairs and everyone else who's made a comment about the committees. I chair the prevention committee, and I also am the chair of the bylaws committee. So we will be bringing a report back to the full BHAB as we move along on the bylaws committee. As to what our plans are, and nothing will be implemented without the full board's approval, so just FYI. So with prevention is moving, prevention efforts are upstream. In other words, they're prior to someone having services or needing hospitalization. I just looked at a couple of explanations as to what prevention is about. Prevention helps vulnerable people at risk prior to their needing hospitalizations or having to be in, like either incarcerated or in the hospital or in that kind of situation. So and we also on the prevention committee have leaned very heavily, I would say probably 60-40% on substance use services, substance use prevention. So let me just digress for 1 second. If we do go ahead and omit these committees as they stand now and decide to establish some goals, and then we would form the new committees to work on those goals. I think that is a good idea. I did want to mention that when I was chair prior, we had meetings, and what we did was everyone submitted some goals that they would like to work on, and then we narrowed them down by vote, and then we proceeded to work on those goals as a board. So I don't know if that's exactly what Cheryl's got in mind, but whatever it is, I think you're gonna have Teresa Comstock from the California Behavioral Health boards and commissions come down maybe. And so I'm in agreement to that, with that, and also that we did and we should align ourselves with the strategic plan so that we're all working for one purpose. And so I'm in agreement with that, if we can do that. Want to share? Thank you. Thank you, Diane.
The last thing, along with all of these things, and by the way, thank you for going to Arrowhead for 2 days, and then I sat in by Zoom for 1 day, but thanks for making the long trip because I know you got a lot more out of it talking to people. But I also wonder, I brought up the time of day of this particular meeting at 1 o'clock. It's the weirdest start time for a meeting. You can't really have a lunch meeting. You can't really have a morning, and you can't have an afternoon. So I just didn't know in this conversation if we did like a doodle poll or something, or is there with the department any flexibility in the start time of this meeting? Like if it was just 2 o'clock, it would make so much more sense. And for those of us that work and have a day job, to make it work with the schedule.
Yes.
So there's flexibility there.
I agree with that.
Go ahead.
Nancy?
Yes, I just had one, and I'm just clarifying because I'm being spacey, I guess, but the strategic plan, the 3-year plan, is that going to continue? I mean, because of all these other changes coming along with Prop 1, is that going to be our for sure plan? Or I'm just saying we don't want to waste too much time aligning with something that might be changing every.
It's a great question. So there's actually, those are 2 different things. There's the departmental strategic plan, which aligns with the agency and county plans. And then what you're referring to, the 3-year plan, is what we know now is the 3-year MHSA plan. That will be transforming ahead of Prop 1. And there will be a plan, but it will be an integrated community plan that not only accounts for Behavioral Health Services Act, will also include Gold Coast Health Plan and Public Health. So it's a combined plan with all 3 of those branches. The official 18-month planning process for that 3-year plan begins in January. And we are required to have it approved by our Board of Supervisors by June 2026. So that it's effective July 1, 26, when Prop 1 kicks into effect. So the planning for that will start very soon.
Nancy, did you have a follow-up? No, no.
Thank you, Liz.
Yeah, so, so thank you, I was gonna make that point. So when we talk about the CPP process, that's what we're talking about. When the department says, hey, we're having a stakeholder meeting, we wanna talk to you about this, we're proposing this. We've got $20 million we wanna spend on this. That's when you guys step up and participate. I mean, this past year, and again, I don't wanna be critical, 2 people from this board participated, 2 of us were there. And that's unacceptable in my book. There's 20 of us? So moving forward, we're gonna want to align with what was MHSA, which is now BHSA/Prop 1. And there was a discussion here about potentially having a Prop 1 committee. And so we could take a look at whether or not that's something that would be worthwhile, that could augment the work that the board wants to take on and align with the strategic plan and the 18-month planning process. But I would always lean that way so that we're not reinventing the wheel and creating goals and pulling stuff out of the ether that isn't really attached to anything. Down the road, when the countywide needs assessment is finished and we get all of the data and the conclusions and recommendations, there will be things that are specific to our county that we can work with the HCA on and other county departments when we're looking at gaps in services and things along those lines, which will produce a complementary set of goals. But we want to stay with the money, and that's with the strategic planning process. And Jennifer, just to your point, because it's an excellent point, in the early days of MHSA, when we were all doing the early work, these committees were created because there were pots of money that had to be spent that were mandated under statute. So what's happened is the money's been spent, programs and policies have been implemented, the department's moved. I mean, Dr. Dennering is, I think, my 6th or 7th behavioral health director. There's been a lot of stuff that has happened here at the department. And so it's an excellent question because those committees they're antiquated. They don't necessarily serve the work that we're doing now. But at the time, just so you understand, they were extraordinarily prolific and did tremendous work. But I think that's also part of why there's been a bit of a, what are we actually doing kind of feeling? And I think that, you know, to Kevin's point, rolling in tape, I think there's just so much great opportunity here to make this happen. But I just want to say the CPP and the 18-month plan, well, that's the strategic plan that we want to follow, not necessarily the agency and the county department plan, but the one that is MHSA Prop 1, BHSA Prop 1. Thanks.
Thank you. Jackie.
I'm so sorry, Jennifer. So I just want to chime in as a newer co-chair of the Reducing Disparities Committee. And just for full transparency, it's been so difficult to get quorum. We have not met as a group since March 7th, 2003. And so we don't have a mission statement. I hear the point, and I just come from downtown Oxnard to get to here. I've gotten here, there hasn't been quorum. You know, so I hear the East County folks and yeah, it's real. That being said, we do have interest from community members to be a part of these committees. And I also want to remind us, like, what role do community members play in these committees? And to also make sure, I think one of the issues that we've had, and I've talked about it with Soledad in the past, is it's the time that we meet. Tuesdays at 4 o'clock, 4:30, it's not conducive to some of the community members that want to come and participate. So if we're thinking about one day or just scheduling in general, and we want community members' participation with this group, as well as with the committees, like, let's really think about time and day. Because I feel for Jackie having to set up this room and there's no quorum, you know what I mean? There's maybe me and Marlene and nobody else, right? I feel for the presenters that were asking to come back and there's no quorum, and it's a bad look. And so I really appreciate Ms. Warren's points earlier about that recommitment, and really what are we signing up for? I don't know if this body utilizes work groups for like short-term things. That might be something for us to consider. I sit on a public safety racial equity group for the county, and we do work groups instead of committees or subcommittees. And those we can turn off, turn on, you know, as things are happening and it's actionable. So yeah, and then I think the other thing that's coming up for me as far as like recommitting, and our positions here, it would be really great, Janice did a really good onboarding for me, and it would be really great to get a little bit more of this like institutional knowledge as part of that onboarding. So exactly your point, Liz, about why these committees are set up, that would be great to know. A glossary, maybe this is like out of, like not on topic, but just how else can we support newer members or even us current members? You know, looking to recommit, to like reconnect with the work, and what information, I mean, I don't know what I don't know. So let's just think about those pieces as well. Thank you.
Thank you, good points. Anybody else? Chris?
Yeah, I just want to say, yeah, thank you for this conversation too, because it's very, very helpful. And I'll make this brief because I know we're kind of running long. So when I first came to the board, I thought, like, as an advisory board, we were gonna be changing everything, right? Like, that was kind of the, and then, you know, we do a lot of great work and I really appreciate it. But what I realized too, in this committee discussion is, the more committees we have, for example, I'll just keep it specific to adult services. If we had a topic that we wanted to bring up or bring forward, we would have to then schedule that in that committee, then host that meeting, then get our thoughts together, and then present that to the board. And in each step, there's another month that passes, and then the board has to calendar it and discuss it. So if we really do want to be action oriented, and I would love to see us be able to make more recommendations to disengage, to the supervisors and things that we see. You know, a lot of us have, whether it's through nonprofits or through our other work, really you're in with the community and things, and would like to promote that, just what we see and what could help other people. So, and especially as a consumer, when I first came on here, I was like, oh, yes. But that's not lost, but just all to say, if we could streamline that by, I mean, the fewer the better, but that's my opinion, and I'm just one person of this board, of course, but just wanted to share that, so thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Okay, I know we need to move on. Genevieve, I'd be very interested to know what the time frame would be for, because you brought up a really good point about community members, because we all have community members on our current committees. So I'd like to hear more about that. Just because I've got the same situation.
I think when I think of time for community members, I think about in the evenings rather than like the early afternoons. So like a 5:30 to 6:30, or if you want to do a 2 hour, 5:30 to 7:30, or 6 to 7. I know it's an extra request on staff, but that if I think, for example, of any of the leaders at my club that are farm workers, you know, that gives them time to leave the field, go home, change, maybe get dinner or something together for their families, and then be able to come and participate. I don't know if Soledad has other recommendations, but I was just thinking more in the evenings. And I'm not, I'll be really honest and candid. I don't know when the other committees meet. I get the emails, but it's kind of like I see the dates and I'm like, I'm not gonna go there. Because I have my own committee and you guys are all doing really good work. So I don't know if the other committees are also meeting at this time, like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And how much that is a barrier to other community members who might want to participate. But I don't know, Soledad, if you have any other recommendations.
Soledad?
Yes, sí es muy complicado, como dice Genevieve, porque también si nos ponemos a pensar en los padres, los papás normalmente ahora están recogiendo a sus hijos.
This is quite complicated, especially if we think about parents. Parents are normally picking up their kids at this time from school.
Y estoy de acuerdo que en las tardes sería mucho mejor porque ya normalmente los padres pues dejaron de cenar, dieron de comer a sus hijos, hicieron tarea.
I agree that the evening would be better because kids have had dinner, they back from school, they've done their homework.
Otra cosa ya que tomé la palabra, al estar escuchando a todos, sé que son muchas juntas las que tenemos. Me encantaría estar en todos los comités, creo que es muy interesante.
I see from talking to you that we have tons of meetings. I would love to be in every single one of them. I think it's very interesting.
Pero es muy complicado por la razón que creo que cada uno de ustedes han dado.
It's quite complicated for all the reasons that every one of you has shared.
Y no sé si es posible, lo voy a decir porque estoy escuchando sobre los alineamientos y la finalidad de cada comité.
Would it be possible, and I'm just gonna tell you because I'm listening about alignment and purpose of each one of the committees?
Pero respecto a la junta de hoy, para mí también sería mucho mejor si fuera por las mañanas o tuviera más de la tarde de la 1.
Regarding myself, meeting today would it be better for me in the morning?
Pero también pienso que si todos los comités, y de otra vez sé que esta junta es bastante larga, pero si se alinearan todos los comités y tuvieran un número en esta junta o un punto donde todos los que estamos aquí tuviéramos la oportunidad de conocer cada comité y participar.
If you would have a meeting like we're having today, and you would have an item where you would explain what each one of the committees is all about, so each one of us would know.
Para mí sería fabuloso y asistiría a, si fuese el día entero, yo asistiría para
And it would be
participar en todos.
And if it lasted all day long, then I would come and be present at every single one of them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Those are great comments also. Thank you. Anybody else on this topic? And we are running over, but I think it's such an important discussion. I didn't want to cut anybody off. I just want to say, just in closing, thank you for all that input. I have another idea. My plan, if it's okay with the board, will be to invite Teresa Comstock down. She is the executive director of our state organization of all BHABs, which I actually didn't even know we had. So that's my bad, but now that I know, and I've spent 2 days with her, she's fabulous, and she would come, she would do a little bit of a retraining and retooling on what is our role exactly, so that we're all very clear, all coming from the same place, and talk about a little bit about how their BHABs do this, but more importantly, or most importantly to me, she would help us do our goal setting, and we would have a goal setting meeting as our full board. Although it's good to always have input from other committee, the executive committee, but all of you have been on committees, you know what you chose and what you think is important. And this eval core report, as you read through it, which is quite lengthy, I did read through it, took me quite a while, I'll tell you that, but it was worth it because it reminded me of all the different things that we're involved in and how we really do need to go ahead and really have a responsibility to go deeper into some of these. We can't do all of it, it's just not possible. So we have to choose 2, 3, whatever number we want to make it for the year, really go deeper into whatever it is we choose. That's what the committees could be geared toward. That would also help us with our site visits, which we have not been doing. And again, it's when you've got so much that you're trying to cover, it's really difficult to do that, to hone in on those. So I think there's a way that we can do this. And yes, we are going to have to let some things go. We won't be able to do everything, but we can do a lot in a year or however long we want to do that for, and then have some very specific recommendations to give not only to our department, but also to our supervisors. And I've personally spoken with a couple of the supervisors. I know some of you other members probably have too, and they would really appreciate that. And if Matt wanted to comment on that, he certainly could, but I think they would appreciate hearing us give some very specific recommendations and feedback. So if the board is okay with that, and then I'll call on you, Matt, since I've not put you on the hot seat, so you can forgive me later, but if the board's okay with that, then I would like to schedule, depending on the staff's time and Teresa's time, for September, October to have this goal setting meeting. And she says it's fine, so, okay. Matt, do you want to say anything? You don't have to.
You're kind of cutting out on my end, but are you asking my opinion on whether or not supervisors would be amenable to kind of more detailed feedback from the board and these various committees?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think and we all have obviously appointees, but we're always looking whatever issue we're dealing with, we're always looking for kind of professional feedback, and I think a lot of us appoint people to this board because we want their professional feedback on how the county's doing. And oftentimes, you as board members are the eyes and ears of the supervisors for what's taking place and gaps and how we could do better. And so I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. One quick comment, because you said chair. Quick. I just want to thank you, Cheryl, for that idea. I love the idea of having Teresa come. I think it's important for us to, when we do meet with our supervisors, and I hope that everyone does, that we have those same goals in mind. So that's all I want to say. It's a great idea. Thank you. Okay, thank you for this discussion, and I think what we want to do is be as productive as we can, and I appreciate what you said, Jennifer, and I think that is how we're going to maintain our forums every single month. If people are working for goals that they can identify, and we've all agreed on, then I think we'll all be here to work very hard on getting those goals done. Permanent. Thank you. Okay, moving along. We are now at the Prop 1 BHSA work group, Chris.
I've gone through that already.
Yeah, so I stepped down as chair of this Prop 1 work group, but I was able to send out the PDF, the full length PDF of the legal text. So I think everybody on the board should have gotten it, I believe. It's about 70 pages and it's pretty dense, but I really like it because it shows the actual change from what's currently out there to what we have in lots of languages. So, and as I mentioned before, I'd be happy to participate and contribute as much as I can. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing for you volunteered. That was great. Thank you. Okay. Other committee reports. We have Youth and Family Committee, Kevin.
Thank you, Cheryl. I can be quick on this. The Youth and Family did meet in June. We already discussed the discussion we had regarding absorbing K. The presentation that we received last month, well, I'll just read the title because it captures it well. Social emotional supports and services in the school setting. This was a presentation made by some county staff and really focused on young people, students across the county and various districts, and how our network is supporting them. It was a pretty robust discussion, actually, and there was a comment that came up earlier about kind of how does this help, maybe are we moving the needle when we have these? I do think that I appreciate that question. I do think in this particular committee meeting, we had a lot of service providers on both in the room and on the Zoom. And so while most of the topics were over my head, right, I facilitated, but I don't work in that arena. It was nice to hear that, it was nice to see that some of the other service providers were able to ask questions amongst themselves and better understand. I would describe, I wouldn't want to say gaps in there, but kind of gaps in service in ways that they could, increase awareness and increase, better connections for students across the whole county. So it was, I thought it was informative and it was helpful, and it could be something that leads into, frankly, a future goal because it touches so many young people. Another recent presentation was about our wellness centers, and when I say our, meaning the county-wide and county-funded wellness centers, and that's more the older age group, high schools. And both of these, align quite well. And of course, the takeaway from all of it is that the demand continues to grow. So I'll close there, but and just say that that was a good discussion. It was a good one. And right now we're unless something changes, we're scheduled to meet in August, and the presentation then will be from Gold Coast Healthcare in Carolina. So another, I think, topic that's really relevant right now and how the different systems work together. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It was a good meeting. I have to agree with that. I think our meetings have been good, but as several of you said, if we don't bring it forward, the rest of us don't learn from what we're learning. So we're all working on specific, anyway, I'm not gonna say that all, board member comments. Yes, Jennifer.
Hi, Cheryl. So I have a concern. I know that telecare is where we contract with, I guess this is to Dr. Dunn. Can you tell me, or I don't know if this is the right place, but I know that that Dr. Savetko is doing Zoom meetings for the clients at CASA. Is that happening at Horizon View as well? I know that we had gotten a new psychiatrist to come to Horizon View because the previous one was, I think, working out of Boston and that wasn't working. So they replaced with a local, I believe she's local, Dr. Savetko. I think I have a concern that when you're dealing with antipsychotics and mental health drugs, it's very important to be able to see the side effects. That could be they're tapping their leg, they can't sit still, they're clicking their arm. And when you're on Zoom, you don't have the ability to see all of that. So my concern is, I don't believe she's going into CASA at all. And so I would like to talk about that. And then also what's happening at Horizon View.
Sure, so I can't get into the specifics of what's happening in each program, because I don't know them off the top of my head. But what I can, and we can talk about that offline when staff as appropriate, but what I can say is, as a department, our goal is to try to have as much in-person psychiatry as we can. And it is a goal of Traditions, our psychiatry provider as well. The realities are, it's very challenging in this market to find psychiatrists to work in person. We are working very hard to make that happen because that is our goal and that is our preferred method, especially from our medical director, Dr. Jason Cooper, who's very much a proponent of in-person psychiatry. And so it is a challenge across not just the state, but the country right now to get in-person psychiatry, and even more so in-person bilingual bicultural psychiatry. So I will just say that as a department, we're doing everything we can to work with our psychiatry provider to get as many in-person providers as we can. In the meantime, we do have state and federal network adequacy requirements that we're required to meet, and telepsychiatry helps us fulfill that. Although it's not preferred, it does help us meet those requirements as we continue efforts to get in-person psychiatry.
So would it be Dr. Shipper or Taylor that I would speak to about this topic?
I'm gonna, for sure, right there.
Okay.
Our adult services chief.
Well, okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll reach out to you, Dr. Shipper, but it just seems, Dr. Blaskovitz is right there at Helmont House. The properties are right next door to each other. It's not so many clients that it's so overwhelming. I was kind of hoping he could slide on over.
I mean, we all love Dr. Reed, we love Dr. Reed, we love Dr. Cooper, and so does everyone else. And they probably see every psychiatry patient in the entire county across multiple health systems. So that's the other reality, is that we have a lot of competing demands for our psychiatrists because as we heard from my colleagues at CMH, obviously that's part of our joint efforts with the residency program. We have our substance use piece, which psychiatry is there, and addiction medicine. So we're stretching our resources across the board, but I hear you. And that is something that we're definitely working very hard with Traditions on bringing more in-person psychiatry.
Telecare has local psychiatrists, specifically the doctors at HIC Hillmont, they are telecare doctors, correct?
So our Traditions Behavioral Health contracts for outpatient psychiatry and inpatient psychiatry at the hospital.
So, okay, sorry, for Liz.
Yeah, so as someone who's done both, I do in-person and telehealth psychiatry, I think the point maybe, and I don't want to speak for you, that we should be thinking about is telehealth psychiatry serves it has a significant role that is very positive. When we're dealing with the folks who are in the SMI world and they're in an acute state, or they are going through a med change, we need to get assessed visually to see if they've got any side effects. I hear what you're saying, that getting them in person is something that's preferable. It always is. But I will just say that having done both, I have found the efficacy to be there. But I do know that post-COVID and people trying to get back to the pre-COVID in-person appointments have been extraordinarily challenging because psychiatrists are also looking at their work-life balance. And if they can work remotely, they want to work remotely. So there is definitely a shortage of doctors across the board, not just in our county. But I'm very empathetic. I hear what you're saying. I just want to let you know that.
You don't mind, I'm just gonna follow up.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
I think that telecare, Zooming for psychiatry, I think does have its place when you're working with a more stable client.
Right.
But when you're in a serious situation and you're in Horizon View or somewhere else, I believe, and I think many others, especially working now with my nonprofit, the Candela Group, having somebody see you face to face so that you can build that relationship, B, get the client to talk to you, and see what the side effects are. It's very important. So
Yeah.
I kind of just wanted to mention that and to see where we're at with our own local facilities and what we're doing.
Thank you.
Board member comment?
You were one.
Okay, Dennis, okay.
Okay, switching gears here. I wanted to ask our new chair if you would, on the next agenda, mention or agendize discussion for changing the times of the committees, or at least the general meeting committee. And it's maybe the executive committee meeting, I don't know, but just have a discussion about that. And I'm assuming that the committees as they stand now will continue to meet until, at which time we're not. So, because we have presentations, as Kevin mentioned, or Chris, I think, mentioned that we have presentations booked, and things like that. So, all right, so I just wanted to clarify that. That's it for me. Thank you. James?
Thank you. I'll try to be brief, but I have several updates. I also wanted to encourage everyone to continue speaking out, because speaking out is great for us to hear your voices and learn from you. So first and foremost, many of you know we're planning a September 14th veteran and first responder resource event in the Channel Islands Harbor. We are still looking for vendors and people interested. That is basically to serve people who are veteran, first responder, and Gold Star family communities. Gold Star families are people who have lost family members in combat in the military during active service. You can email me directly at james.espinoza.email@gmail. That's a long email. It's james.espinoza@email@gmail if you want to learn more, or if you want your facility to be a vendor for us. We need community resources. A lot of us don't know how to reconnect. Secondly, Fort Hueneme Naval retiree, Dr. Shante Destiny, authored a book called Doing It Afraid. It's a story of resilience and offers encouragement and ways to basically continue on through your life and find purpose after, even if you're afraid. So I really want to recommend this book. I get nothing in terms of personal finances. This was a veteran, naval non-commissioned officer that I met through my nonprofit work. And here she is 2 years later. We went to her book launch last Friday, and I just wanted to share that with you. It's like $13 on Amazon.
What's the author name?
It's called Doing It Afraid by Dr. Shante Destiny, Shante, and then the word destiny. Fantastic book. My wife and I read it, and one day we were our own audiobook, read it to each other. So it was fantastic.
Date night.
It was actually a drive to the book reading, to the book event. We want to have some credibility that we will. Last time I actually met via Zoom with Julie Brownlee's office. If you didn't know, veterans right now are being subjected to recall of early separation incentives. And the reason I bring this up is because financial crisis is a major factor in veteran suicide. I'm a veteran suicide loss survivor, so I met with her office. There is current legislation in process by another congressperson that I am looking to advocate for, so I'll share more information on that as time allows. And lastly, I recently was brought to my attention by a friend of mine and former coworker, Scott Walker, up there. So Scott, I'm down you. He informed me of a recent court decision of the city of Grants Pass, Oregon v. Johnson. If you're not familiar, basically the Supreme Court ruling states that cities and counties can actually enforce homeless laws that prevent people from living and sleeping on the streets. I can tell you from personal experience, I went through this evolution of enforcing city ordinances and then it became, they were protected class. We couldn't enforce it and now it's come back. There was a press release. The reason I bring it up, there was a press release by the BCLEC, which is the Ventura County Law Enforcement Coordinating Committee made up of police chiefs, the sheriff in the county. I made copies available. I will also send it again to Jackie for translation so it can be distributed. But the gist of the press release is that the local law enforcement will continue to meet this homelessness issue with compassion and reasonableness. So just be aware that that did happen recently in the Supreme Court. That affects us in what we do as I also have lived experience with a family member who suffered with homelessness as a child. And I know this is a real issue, so I wanted to let you know there was a press release on that.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna move on. New business, BHAB and Adult Services Committee request for chairs. Okay, but it's on here, so, there have been problems, I think, with quorums, maybe not at adults, I'm not sure, but, recently, but anyway, anybody who wants to volunteer, this could possibly be temporary, might not be, but depending on what we decide, if there's any volunteers, you can let me know or, let Jackie know.
Cheryl, I'm good if we meet with adult family services.
I'm sorry, Diane, say it again.
I said, I will be chair of TAG. We meet with adult and family services, the committee I'm already on.
You talking about child?
But it's already, yes.
Okay, you would be chair of TAG if we take would be with, with child and family services.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
And Kevin and I can co-chair the committee.
Okay, so, that's great. Is there any objection to that? I don't know who's on the TAG committee, so, oh, you are. Are you okay with that?
I don't know what time it's gonna be, it depends on the timing, because, yeah, if it's in the middle of the day, it's very hard for me.
Yeah, okay. That's a good comment for the committee to take into consideration.
Another comment.
Sorry,
That's Genevieve. As always. But just point of order, I think that's an action item, so we'd have to agendize that before we combine the committees, right?
Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, but so we can look at that, put it on the next agenda. Presentation requests, moving on. Anybody else? Okay, none at this time. And recognition award recommendations. Remember, these are things you can give to Jackie or myself anytime. It doesn't have to be this meeting. Anytime you think of something you want to bring up, please do so. Liz?
So were you taking care of Barry Zimmerman's?
Oh, yes, yes.
What's the status on that? Is he gonna be, are we gonna be presenting it to him, or is he gonna be receiving it at home?
Yeah, he's moving currently as we speak, I think. So we are in touch with someone from his department, and Ashley, who I think is his administrator. Okay. So now I'm in contact with her, and yes, we are going to get it to him, but he's not going to be in person.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Thank you for asking. Old business. Anybody have any old business to bring up? All right, we're moving along to contracts. There were a lot of them as always. Anybody? Oh, sorry, Chris.
I just want to go through a couple of these, well, starting with, item 1 and item 4, are the View Heights contracts for, county skilled nursing. And I mean, there's a lot of other ones too, like Parkside and all these other areas where, you know, you're out of county placements where people are getting services they need. It goes really along well with the build out of infrastructure that the county's working on, so that's great. But a couple things all the time. Section out. One is the first contract, item 1, goes for like $1 million. Yeah, 209, and that's only through the end of June. So that was issued June 4th. So I was just curious if that was for that brief period, or if that was for the whole fiscal year of last year. Was that increased for 1.2 million? Yes. Just so the question was, for the 1.2 million, the first line item, if that was just for the issue date between 6/4 or 6/30, or if that was for the whole calendar year adjustment.
So that was an adjustment for what is now the previous fiscal year. Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. And then my other question had to do with each of these out of county placements is, you know, as Jen mentioned with the psych overlook and in-person things. So that might just be one example of things that we might not be as close with, being that they're out of county placements, you know, so being able to maintain or overlook the quality of care. And I'm sure they're all to the standards, because there's standards that need to be met and everything, of course. But I just want to make us as aware as a board that, you know, if they're Ventura County clients, they need our level of care too, even if they're miles and miles away, especially because it's difficult for their families, you know, to make that transition, their transportation and all that. So maybe this is something we could look at as a board to kind of just make sure that we're keeping eyes on them and making sure that they're getting everything they need. And of course, the DCH is doing that too, but I just wanted to throw that out there, because it's a lot of money every year. And with any luck with all these built out infrastructures, they'll be brought back in county as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Those are good comments. Nancy.
I had a question about AGES treatment centers and the you know, the total budget that they get is really big. It's $7,800,000. And I'm wondering, that must include the medications that they distribute, is that correct?
Yes, that's
And
correct.
is there, I have heard, and I don't know that it's true or not true, but that AGES distributes methadone, they also distribute Suboxone.
Yeah.
I don't know what, and is there if you have Medicare, you get one thing and you get, I've heard that Suboxone isn't available to some clients because of financial difficulties. Is that true?
No, it's based on medical necessity. So these are AGES, Western Pacific, there are our providers for medications for addiction treatment, opioid use disorder. And so there's various medications, including Suboxone, buprenorphine, Vivitrol, lots of different, it is all based on medical necessity. And AGES is a statewide network, and they're owned by Medical, which is a national addiction medicine clinic provider. And they take multiple payer sources. So they serve folks across the continuum, private insurance, cash, and Medi-Cal.
Thank you. Any other comments on the contracts or questions? Okay, thank you. And we're moving now to public comments. This is, again, public comments, 3 minutes each. Anybody? I can't see behind you, so if you're there, let me know. Okay, I'm not hearing it or seeing it. I'm not seeing them anyway. Okay, with that, I think the meeting is adjourned. I'll see you all in a month. Thank you for all being here and participating in this good discussion, and we'll be having more. Thank you.
It's so down in this, the event, and then,